Was I wrong for what I did? Honestly, I've replayed that morning in my head 1,000 times, and each time the same question screams at me. One moment, I was fast asleep in the home my husband and I built together, the home I'd lived in for over 40 years. The next, an alarm blared at 5 a.m., and I was being told by my own daughter-in-law that I no longer owned it, that she was the new owner. Can you even begin to imagine that kind of betrayal? I still can't quite wrap my head around it, even now, months later. Tell me honestly if you would have done the same thing I did. I need to know if I'm the monster they're making me out to be, or if I simply fought for what was rightfully mine. Let me take you back to the beginning, before the chaos, before the dawn alarm shattered my life. My husband, Robert, and I had been married for 52 beautiful years. He was the rock of my life, a kind, hard-working man who built a successful construction business from the ground up. Our home, a charming two-story house with a sprawling garden in the back, was our sanctuary. We bought it when we were young, poured our hearts and souls into renovating it, raising our 2 children, Michael and Sarah, within its walls. Every creak, every scuff mark, every faded patch of wallpaper held a memory. It wasn't just a house, it was the embodiment of our life together. Robert had always been meticulous about finances and estate planning. He believed in preparing for every eventuality, a trait I sometimes found a bit overbearing, but which, in hindsight, I am eternally grateful for. After he retired, he spent countless hours with our family lawyer, making sure everything was in order, especially regarding the house. His will was clear: the house was to be mine outright, for as long as I lived. After my passing, it would be divided equally between Michael and Sarah. This was a decision we had made together, one that felt fair and loving. Robert passed away peacefully in his sleep about 1.5 years before this whole nightmare began. The grief was immense, a gaping hole in my heart that still aches every day. But his meticulous planning meant that, financially, I was secure. I had my pension, a comfortable savings account, and, most importantly, my home. I had always envisioned living out my days there, surrounded by my memories, tending to my garden, and enjoying visits from my children and grandchildren. My son, Michael, was always the more ambitious of our 2 children. He followed in his father's footsteps, albeit reluctantly at first, joining the construction business. He met and married Brenda, a woman who, from the very beginning, struck me as different. She was beautiful, impeccably dressed, and always seemed to have a meticulously crafted plan for everything. While I tried to welcome her into the family, there was always a subtle tension, a feeling that I wasn't quite good enough, or perhaps my life wasn't quite grand enough for her standards. She often made comments about the age of our house, the outdated decor, hinting at improvements that would modernize it. I just smiled and nodded, chalking it up to generational differences. Michael, bless his heart, was always caught in the middle. He loved me, I knew that, but he was also deeply devoted to Brenda. He worked tirelessly, driven by Brenda's constant push for a lavish lifestyle. They had 2 children, my beautiful grandchildren, who were the light of my life. Sarah, my daughter, lived a few states away with her husband and children. She called me every week, visited when she could, and was always a source of comfort and support. She understood my connection to the house, as she too had grown up there. A few months before the 5 a.m. incident, Michael and Brenda started visiting more frequently. Not just quick pop-ins, but long, drawn-out visits where Brenda would meticulously inspect every room, tapping on walls, commenting on the state of the roof, the appliances. She'd say things like, "Mother, this place has so much potential. but it needs a asterisk complete asterisk overhaul. Or have you considered selling? You could get a fortune for this land." I always politely brushed her off, reaffirming my desire to stay in my home. Michael would just stand by, a sheepish look on his face, never truly contradicting her, but never fully agreeing either. I could see the conflict in his eyes, but he never spoke up. Then came the requests. First, they needed a loan for a new business venture, a large sum, which I reluctantly gave them, trusting my son. Then Brenda started suggesting that I downsize to a smaller apartment, insisting it would be less work for me. I was active, perfectly capable of managing my home and garden. I saw through her thinly veiled attempts, but I never imagined the depths of their scheme. The week before the alarm incident, Michael and Brenda were particularly insistent on coming over for dinner. Brenda brought a stack of legal-looking documents, claiming they were investment opportunities. She wanted to discuss with me. My eyesight isn't what it used to be, and I trusted Michael to read everything to me. He skimmed through a few pages, mumbling about shares and joint ventures, and then pointed to a line at the bottom, asking me to sign. He said it was just a formality to acknowledge I had seen the documents. I was tired, and frankly, I was distracted by the delicious lasagna Brenda had brought. I signed without truly scrutinizing the paperwork, my trust in my son overriding any lingering doubts. Oh, how I regret that moment. That single, trusting stroke of a pen sealed my fate, or so I thought. The night before, Michael and Brenda had stayed over, claiming their car had broken down and they couldn't get a tow until the morning. I, of course, offered them the guest room. I remember waking up feeling a strange sense of unease, a chill that had nothing to do with the early morning air. Then, at precisely 5:00 a.m., a shrill, piercing alarm went off in the living room. It wasn't my alarm, and it certainly wasn't Robert's old grandfather clock chime. I stumbled out of bed, my heart pounding, wondering if there was a fire. I found Brenda standing in the living room, immaculately dressed, holding a tablet, her face illuminated by its glow. Michael was behind her, looking pale and nervous. "Good morning, Mother," Brenda said, her voice unnaturally calm, almost robotic. "The alarm is set for the precise time the new ownership officially transfers. I just wanted to be here to personally inform you." My mind reeled. "What are you talking about, Brenda? What new ownership?" I asked, my voice trembling. She smirked, a cold, calculating look in her eyes that I will never forget. "This house, Mother, it's no longer yours. It's mine, or rather, it's ours, Michael's and mine. You signed the transfer of ownership documents last week. Remember the investment opportunities?" The world tilted. My breath hitched in my throat. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. "No," I whispered, "that's impossible. Robert's will was clear. The house is mine." Brenda shook her head. "Oh, the will is a lovely sentiment, Mother, but a signed, notarized transfer of deed overrides any will. You signed it, legally transferring the property to Michael and me. It's all perfectly legal." She gestured towards a man in a suit, who had silently entered the room behind her. "This is our lawyer. He's here to ensure a smooth transition." I looked at Michael, tears welling in my eyes. He wouldn't meet my gaze. He just stared at the floor, his face a mask of shame and fear. "Michael, how could you?" I choked out. He finally looked up, his eyes pleading. "Mom, I didn't have a choice. Brenda, she said it was the only way to save our family from financial ruin. She said you wouldn't mind downsizing, that it would be better for you. Better for me. To be kicked out of my own home by my son and daughter-in-law at 5 a.m. The sheer audacity, the cruelty of it all, was unfathomable. Brenda then explained their plan. They would move in immediately, begin renovations, and I was to move into a small, assisted living apartment they had already secured for me. It's all arranged, Mother. Your bags are packed. The car is waiting. So that's the situation I was in, stripped of my home, my dignity, by the very people I loved and trusted. My own son, coerced or convinced, was complicit in this monstrous act. I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have fought back, or would you have accepted your fate, packing your bags and walking away from everything you held dear? What would you have sacrificed to reclaim what was yours? My vision blurred with tears, but a simmering rage began to boil beneath my grief. They underestimated me. They saw an old woman, easily manipulated, easily discarded. But they forgot one crucial thing. I was Robert's wife. I had helped him build his business, navigated countless challenges, and stood by him through thick and thin. I had a backbone, and I wasn't about to let them steal my home without a fight. You think you've won, I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the tremor in my hands. You think I'm just going to walk out of the home I've lived in for 40 years, the home my husband left to me, because you tricked me into signing some papers? Brenda scoffed. It's done, Mother. The law is on our side. Is it? I challenged, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across my face. Because Robert was a very careful man, and he anticipated situations like this. I walked calmly to the old oak desk in the corner, the one Robert had built, and pulled out a hidden drawer. Inside, nestled amongst old letters and photographs, was a single, crisp document, a prenuptial agreement. Brenda's confident smirk wavered. Michael's eyes widened. What is that? Brenda demanded, her voice losing its composed edge. This, I said, holding up the document, is a prenuptial agreement Michael signed before he married you, Brenda. Robert insisted on it, knowing how easily ambitious people can be swayed by the promise of wealth. It states that, should Michael ever attempt to acquire any of my assets through coercion, manipulation, or fraud, he forfeits his entire inheritance from Robert's estate, including his half of the business, which would then revert solely to Sarah. The lawyer Brenda had brought, looking increasingly uncomfortable, took the document from my hand, his eyes scanning it quickly. His face, initially smug, now showed clear signs of alarm. This appears to be legally binding, he stammered. A very comprehensive clause, specifically designed to protect Mrs. Peterson's assets. Brenda let out a strangled cry. No, that's impossible. Michael never told me about this. Michael finally found his voice, a whimper of despair. I forgot about it, Brenda. It was so long ago. Dad just said it was standard procedure for anyone inheriting a business. The tables had turned. Brenda, the meticulous planner, was now crumbling. Her carefully constructed scheme was falling apart. And that's not all, I continued, my voice growing stronger with each word. Robert also had a failsafe for the house, a clause in the original deed, an irrevocable trust, that makes it impossible for the property to be transferred or sold without my explicit, conscious, and notarized consent, given freely and without duress. Any document signed under duress, or without full disclosure, is automatically void. The lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear into the floorboards. Mrs. Peterson, is this true? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. Robert always said he wanted to protect me and our home, no matter what. The aftermath was swift and devastating for Michael and Brenda. The lawyer, realizing the depth of their legal jeopardy, quickly advised Brenda to withdraw the fraudulent deed transfer. Brenda, still reeling from the revelation of the prenuptial agreement, was furious, but also terrified. The threat of losing Michael's entire inheritance was far more significant than the house itself, especially given her thirst for wealth. She knew then that she had overplayed her hand. I made it clear that I would not tolerate any further attempts to defraud me. I didn't press charges for the fraudulent deed transfer, primarily because it involved my son, and I still held a flicker of hope that he could be redeemed. However, I did ensure that the prenuptial agreement was publicly acknowledged and legally reaffirmed, protecting Sarah's rightful inheritance and solidifying my ownership of the house. Michael, broken and ashamed, apologized profusely. He begged for my forgiveness, but the trust was shattered. He moved out of the house with Brenda that very day, their grand plans for renovation replaced by the stark reality of their failure. Their marriage, already strained by Brenda's insatiable ambition, eventually crumbled under the weight of this scandal. Brenda left Michael a few months later, taking a significant portion of what little assets they had left. Michael lost his half of the business, which, as per the prenuptial agreement, was transferred to Sarah. My daughter, Sarah, flew in immediately after I told her what happened. She was furious with Michael, but incredibly supportive of me. She helped me change all the locks, install security cameras, and review every single document I had, making sure there were no other hidden traps. She's since taken a more active role in my life, ensuring my financial well-being and checking in on me constantly. I still live in my home, my sanctuary. The garden is blooming beautifully, and the memories of Robert are stronger than ever. The 5 a.m. alarm incident is a stark reminder of betrayal, but also of my own resilience. It taught me that even in the darkest moments, I had the strength to fight for what was mine. It cost me my relationship with Michael, at least for now. He calls sometimes, but the conversations are strained, filled with unspoken regret and the vast chasm of his actions. I hope one day he truly understands the gravity of what he did, but I am not waiting for it. I have my home, my peace, and the unwavering love of my daughter. So, was I wrong? I don't think so. I fought for my home, my husband's legacy, and my peace of mind. I protected my daughter's inheritance. I may have lost a son, but I gained a profound understanding of what truly matters. I'll see you all in the next story. Like this video if you were on my side, subscribe for more stories like this, and share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section.